We're gonna celebrate Mackenzie's win! Yay! Maddie, you're buying!
That's all we know. Oh, that's how we roll.
Season 5 highlights. The drama you can't miss. The rise and fall of Abby Lee Miller. A deep dive into Dance Moms Season 5 and beyond. Abby Lee Miller has been a polarizing figure in the dance world for years. As the head of the Abby Lee Dance Company, ALDC, and the star of Dance Moms, she built an empire based on discipline, drama, and undeniable talent. However, Season 5 of the hit Lifetime series marked a pivotal moment in her career. From her intensifying conflicts with the moms to her shocking eliminations and eventual legal troubles, this season was the beginning of her fall from grace. Let's explore the dramatic events that shaped this turning point in Abby Lee Miller's legacy. Season 5, the beginning of the end. The pressure builds. Season 5 saw Abby's leadership come under intense scrutiny. With the departure of longtime favorite Chloe Lacasiak at the end of Season 4, tensions were already high. Many fans were shocked by Chloe's exit, as her mother, Christy Lacasiak, often clashed with Abby over favoritism and alleged mistreatment. The void left by Chloe's absence was soon filled by new dancers, but the dynamic of the team had shifted. Abby became even more demanding, pushing her dancers harder than ever before. The introduction of new faces, such as JoJo Siwa and Bryn Rumfalo, led to conflicts within the team. While JoJo's larger-than-life personality made her a standout, Abby's tough love approach did not sit well with everyone. Bryn, on the other hand, was positioned as a potential successor to Maddie Ziegler, which caused friction with the existing dancers and their mothers. Clashes with Holly and Kira. Two of the most memorable conflicts of Season 5 involved Holly Frazier and Kira Gerard. Holly, the mother of Nia Frazier, had always been vocal about Abby's treatment of her daughter. As Nia continued to be overlooked for solos and prime opportunities, Holly reached her breaking point. She accused Abby of favoring Maddie and Kendall while giving Nia subpar choreography and limited attention. The tension between Abby and Holly culminated in explosive arguments that left the team divided. Kira Gerard, the mother of Kalani Hilliker, also found herself at odds with Abby. Kira wanted Kalani to have more opportunities, but Abby's unpredictable nature made it difficult to secure consistent solos or featured roles for her. Kira's outspoken attitude led to multiple confrontations, further driving a wedge between Abby and the team's mothers. Shocking eliminations and power plays. Season 5 was notorious for its unexpected eliminations. One of the most shocking moments was when Abby removed JoJo Siwa from the team temporarily, citing her inability to conform to the ALDC style. JoJo's departure was met with outrage from fans, who felt she was unfairly targeted. Though JoJo eventually returned, the incident highlighted Abby's authoritarian leadership style. Similarly, tensions flared when Abby benched Nia, despite her consistent performances. Holly took matters into her own hands by seeking outside opportunities for Nia, which led to her breakout music video for Star in Your Own Life. Abby disapproved of Holly going behind her back, causing even more friction. Maddie's rising stardom and Abby's changing priorities. Maddie Ziegler had been Abby's star pupil for years, and her success outside of Dance Moms only continued to grow. With appearances in Sia's music videos and Hollywood projects, Maddie became the face of the ALDC. However, her rise in fame led to speculation that Abby was prioritizing Maddie's career over the rest of the team. Melissa Gisoni, Maddie's mother, was one of Abby's closest allies. Unlike the other moms, Melissa rarely challenged Abby's decisions, leading to resentment among the group. The favoritism was more evident than ever, with Maddie receiving countless solos while other dancers struggled to get Abby's attention. Legal troubles began to surface. While Season 5 focused primarily on the team's struggles, behind the scenes, Abby's personal life was unraveling. Rumors of financial misconduct and fraud began circulating, with whispers of legal issues following her every move. Though the full extent of her troubles wouldn't be revealed until later, cracks in her empire were becoming more apparent. Post-Season 5, the downward spiral. The lawsuits and bankruptcy scandal. After Season 5, Abby's legal problems took center stage. In 2015, she was indicted for bankruptcy fraud, accused of hiding income from dance moms and other business ventures. The case dragged on for years, culminating in a guilty plea and a prison sentence. In 2017, she was sentenced to 1 year and 1 day in federal prison, a shocking downfall for the once powerful dance instructor. Maddie's exit and the show's decline. As Abby faced mounting legal troubles, Maddie Ziegler and her sister Mackenzie announced their departure from Dance Moms in Season 6. Their exit marked the end of an era, as Maddie had been the face of the show. Without her, ratings began to decline, and Abby struggled to maintain the same level of dominance in the dance world. Abby's prison sentence and health issues. Abby's time in prison was a humbling experience. She served 8 months before being released early due to health concerns. Shortly after, she was diagnosed with Burkitt lymphoma, a rare form of cancer. The once feared dance instructor was now facing the biggest battle of her life, attempting a comeback. Despite her legal and health issues, Abby attempted a comeback with Dance Moms: Resurrection. However, the magic of the original series was difficult to recapture. The show struggled with ratings, and Abby's credibility had been damaged beyond repair. Though she continued to teach and make appearances, her influence had significantly waned. The legacy of Abby Lee Miller. Abby Lee Miller's legacy is complicated. She undeniably helped shape the careers of dancers like Maddie Ziegler, JoJo Siwa, and Kalani Hilliker, but her controversial teaching methods and explosive personality overshadowed much of her success. Season 5 was the turning point that set the stage for her eventual downfall, proving that even the most powerful figures in reality TV aren't immune to scandal. What remains clear is that Dance Moms changed the landscape of reality television. The drama, talent, and unforgettable moments will live on, but Abby Lee Miller's reign will forever be marked by its dramatic rise and equally dramatic fall. Nia vs. Abby, the ultimate showdown. A Dance Moms feud for the ages. Few feuds in Dance Moms history were as intense and emotionally charged as the showdown between Nia Sue and Abby Lee Miller. What started as a simmering tension over favoritism and overlooked talent exploded into one of the most talked-about conflicts of the series. With Holly Frazier, Nia's fiercely loyal mother, standing her ground against Abby's tough love approach, fans were left divided. Did Abby truly hold Nia back, or was it simply part of the high-stakes, cutthroat world of competitive dance? Let's dive into the full story of Nia vs. Abby and the impact it had on Dance Moms and the ALDC legacy. Nia's journey at the ALDC. From the very beginning, Nia Sue was one of the most hardworking and dedicated dancers at the Abby Lee Dance Company, ALDC. Unlike some of her teammates who were seen as Abby's favorites, Nia often found herself struggling to gain the recognition she deserved. While Maddie Ziegler, Kendall, and Kalani Hilliker frequently received top-tier solos and featured roles, Nia's opportunities were far less consistent. Holly Frazier, Nia's mother, was one of the few moms who consistently challenged Abby's decisions. She believed that Abby was not only overlooking Nia's potential, but also typecasting her in ways that didn't allow for true artistic growth. Season after season, this underlying frustration built up, culminating in the ultimate confrontation during Season 5. Season 5, the breaking point. The favoritism becomes more obvious. By the time Dance Moms reached its 5th season, it was no secret that Abby had clear favorites. Maddie was the undisputed star, often receiving the best choreography and opportunities outside of the show, such as starring in Sia's music videos. Meanwhile, Kendall was groomed as a rising competitor, with Abby heavily investing in her music career. Kalani was also given frequent solos and prime placements in group routines. Nia, on the other hand, seemed to be placed in the background more often than not. Even when she did get a solo, it was frequently themed around stereotypical or uninspired concepts. Holly began to express her frustration more openly, and tensions with Abby reached new heights. The music career conflict. One of the biggest breaking points between Nia and Abby revolved around Nia's burgeoning music career. Unlike Kendall, who had Abby's full backing for her music, Nia had to seek outside help. Holly made the controversial decision to work with outside professionals, including R&B star Coco Jones, to help Nia launch her music video, Star in Your Own Life. When Abby found out about this, she was livid. She saw it as a betrayal, claiming that Holly and Nia had gone behind her back. Holly, however, argued that Abby had never shown genuine support for Nia's career aspirations, leaving them no choice but to take matters into their own hands. The tension boiled over in a dramatic confrontation in which Abby belittled Nia's music efforts, claiming she would never succeed without her guidance. Holly fired back, accusing Abby of failing to nurture Nia the way she had done for other dancers. This moment solidified the division within the team, with other moms and dancers forced to pick sides. Did Abby really hold Nia back? Abby's approach to coaching was undeniably harsh, but did she actively hold Nia back? Looking at the facts, there's a strong argument to be made that Nia was given fewer chances than some of her teammates. While other dancers were pushed into the spotlight and encouraged to pursue outside opportunities, Nia was often left fighting for basic recognition. Some believe Abby simply didn't see Nia as a star in the same way she saw Maddie or Kalani. Others argue that Abby's strict coaching style was meant to push Nia harder so she could prove herself. However, given the way she supported Kendall's music career while disregarding Nia's, it's difficult to dismiss Holly's claims of favoritism. The aftermath. How Nia overcame the obstacles. Despite Abby's doubts, Nia proved that she didn't need her former dance coach's approval to succeed. Following the explosive conflict, Nia's music career took off. Her song Star in Your Own Life became a success, and she continued to release music, gaining a dedicated fanbase. Nia also expanded her career beyond music and dance. She became a social media influencer, actress, and advocate for positivity and inclusion. While other Dance Moms alumni remained closely tied to their ALDC past, Nia carved her own path, proving that she could shine without Abby's backing. The fans' reaction. Team Nia versus Team Abby. The feud sparked intense debates among Dance Moms fans. Many viewers sided with Nia and Holly, believing they had been unfairly treated for years. They applauded Holly's strength in standing up to Abby and fighting for her daughter's success. Others, however, felt that Abby was simply running her business and making decisions based on what she thought would bring the most success. They argued that Dance Moms was, at its core, a competitive environment, and not everyone could be the favorite. Abby's regret. A change of heart? In later years, Abby appeared to soften her stance on Nia. In interviews, she acknowledged Nia's growth and success but maintained that her teaching methods were always intended to push her students to be their best. Whether this was genuine reflection or an attempt to mend her public image remains debatable. Conclusion. Nia's triumph over adversity. Nia Sue versus Abby Lee Miller remains one of the most unforgettable feuds in Dance Moms history. It highlighted the struggles of being overlooked, the fight for recognition, and the resilience needed to break free from limiting circumstances. While Abby's tough love tactics may have been controversial, they inadvertently pushed Nia to take control of her own destiny. Today, Nia is a testament to what can be achieved through hard work, determination, and self-belief. Maddie and Kalani's dominance, the unstoppable golden girls of Dance Moms. When it came to Dance Moms, two names stood above the rest, Maddie Ziegler and Kalani Hilliker. With unmatched technique, star presence, and unwavering support from Abby Lee Miller, these two dancers were the ones to beat. But was their dominance fair? Or was favoritism the real reason they reigned supreme? Let's dive into the drama, the rivalries, and the undeniable talent that kept them at the top of the pyramid week after week. The rise of Maddie and Kalani. Maddie Ziegler was the golden child from the very start. As Abby's favorite, she was given opportunities no one else could dream of. Extra solos, featured spots in group dances, and even a starring role in Sia's viral music videos. Her winning streak at competitions solidified her as the team's frontrunner, leaving her teammates struggling to keep up. Kalani Hilliker, on the other hand, was a latecomer compared to Maddie. Originally from Abby's Ultimate Dance competition, Kalani joined the ALDC in Season 4 and immediately made waves. Her breathtaking technique, fluid movements, and natural grace positioned her as a direct rival to Maddie. Abby took notice, and soon, Kalani became the second favorite, a dancer so strong that even Maddie had to stay on her toes. Favoritism. Was it fair? There's no denying that Maddie and Kalani were talented, but did they get an unfair advantage? Many fans and cast members certainly thought so. Other dancers on the team, especially Kendall, Nia Su, and JoJo Siwa, often expressed frustration at the seemingly rigged system. Week after week, Maddie and Kalani were handed solos while others were left out. Even when they made mistakes, Abby was quick to overlook them, while the rest of the team faced brutal criticism for the slightest misstep. One of the most notorious instances of favoritism came during Season 5, when Maddie and Kalani were paired for a duet, leaving the rest of the team feeling completely sidelined. The routine was stunning, of course, but many wondered if it was necessary to constantly highlight the same two dancers while others barely had a chance to shine. Maddie versus Kalani, rivals or friends? Despite their constant competition for the top spot, Maddie and Kalani never displayed outward hostility toward each other. In fact, they often showed genuine support and admiration. But that doesn't mean tensions didn't exist. There were plenty of moments when the competition between them was palpable, whether it was Kalani finally snatching a first-place win over Maddie or the subtle pressure of living up to Abby's expectations. Fans were divided on who the true queen of the ALDC was. Some felt that Maddie's polished performances and star power made her the rightful favorite, while others believed Kalani's superior technique should have earned her more recognition. Either way, their rivalry, whether spoken or unspoken, was a driving force in Dance Mom's history. The other girls speak out. It wasn't just fans who noticed the favoritism. Many of Maddie and Kalani's teammates openly called it out. Kendall, Nia, and JoJo were often vocal about how unfair the treatment was. Nia, who had been on the team just as long as Maddie, struggled to get the same opportunities despite her own strengths as a performer. Kendall frequently felt overshadowed, and JoJo Siwa's larger-than-life personality wasn't enough to break through Abby's clear favoritism. Even Chloe Lacasiak, Maddie's original rival, left the show partly due to Abby's clear bias. While Chloe was an incredible dancer in her own right, she was never given the same praise or opportunities as Maddie, leading to an emotional exit in Season 4. Life after Dance Moms. Maddie and Kalani's dominance didn't end with Dance Moms. Maddie skyrocketed to fame thanks to her work with Sia, leading to acting gigs, modeling contracts, and a best-selling memoir. She distanced herself from Abby Lee Miller and openly criticized the toxic environment of the show. Kalani, while not as mainstream famous as Maddie, has continued to thrive in the dance and influencer world. She has amassed a massive social media following, collaborated with major brands, and remained a respected name in the dance community. The legacy of Maddie and Kalani. No matter where you stand on the favoritism debate, there's no denying that Maddie Ziegler and Kalani Hilliker were two of the most talented dancers in Dance Mom's history. Their performances were breathtaking, their wins well-earned, and their impact undeniable. But their dominance also raised important questions about fairness, favoritism, and how opportunities were distributed among the team. Were Maddie and Kalani truly the best, or were they simply the chosen ones? That's a debate that will live on in Dance Mom's history forever. JoJo Siwa's big entrance. The making of a star. When Dance Moms Season 5 introduced JoJo Siwa, viewers were in for a whirlwind of energy, neon bows, and a personality that lit up every room she entered. Prior to JoJo's debut, the show had already established its core group of dancers and their dynamics, led by Maddie Ziegler, who had long been Abby Lee Miller's golden girl. But when JoJo burst onto the scene, everything changed. JoJo, with her bright blonde hair and even brighter, oversized bows, wasn't like the other girls. She wasn't just a talented dancer, she was a force. The camera loved her, and fans immediately found themselves drawn to her infectious spirit and unstoppable attitude. But how did the cast and the mothers react to JoJo's bold new addition? Was her entrance met with excitement, or did it stir up tension within the already established ALDC, Abby Lee Dance Company squad? The first impression, love or hate. From the moment JoJo appeared on the show, her energy was undeniable. She had a larger-than-life presence that demanded attention, whether she was on the dance floor or just interacting with the other girls. The fans loved her, and her infectious personality and over-the-top fashion made her an instant hit. JoJo's vibrant personality and ability to command attention at such a young age were no surprise, especially considering she had been training in dance since she was little. But it wasn't just her skill on the dance floor that stood out, it was her star quality. However, Not everyone was thrilled with JoJo's entrance to the ALDC. The established members of the team had already been on the show for years, and their place in Abby's spotlight was well established. Maddie Ziegler had been Abby's golden girl for a long time, and Kalani Hilliker was starting to gain some serious attention as well. The arrival of JoJo, with her bouncy personality and natural charisma, posed a challenge to the dynamic of the group. The moms, in particular, were not shy about their opinions. The moms' reactions, drama behind the scenes. The show's dramatic moments were often driven by the moms, and JoJo's arrival was no exception. The initial reactions from the moms were mixed. Some were supportive of JoJo's inclusion, seeing her as a refreshing new energy for the team. Others, however, were not so keen on the idea of this new, attention-grabbing dancer stealing the spotlight. Kelly Hilliker, mother of Kalani, was one of the first to express concern over JoJo's addition. Kalani had already earned her place as a serious contender on the team, and there was no way she was going to let some loud newcomer overshadow her daughter. JoJo's unfiltered confidence and the instant popularity she garnered from fans only seemed to add fuel to the fire. Kelly, like many of the other moms, couldn't understand why Abby would bring in another dancer when the team already had so much talent. Christy Lacasiak, mother of Chloe, also had her reservations about JoJo. While she wasn't as vocal as Kelly, Christy had a history of tension with Abby and was always quick to defend her daughter when she felt Chloe wasn't being treated fairly. The idea of a new dancer joining the team and possibly taking away focus from the other girls wasn't something Christy easily accepted. JoJo's flashy bows and bright demeanor felt like a direct challenge to the well-established routines and drama that had already been set in motion for years. The girls' reactions, competition or friendship. While the moms were busy bickering behind the scenes, the girls themselves were left to figure out how to navigate this new dynamic. For some of the dancers, JoJo's arrival was a welcomed shift in the energy of the group. For others, however, her larger-than-life persona was a challenge. Maddie Ziegler, the face of Dance Moms for several seasons, was used to being the center of attention. With her impeccable technique and undeniable talent, Maddie had long been Abby's favorite. But when JoJo arrived, it became clear that Abby was going to start investing more time in JoJo. While JoJo was never going to be the technical dancer that Maddie was, she had a different kind of charm that Abby clearly found appealing. Maddie and JoJo's relationship was more complex than many fans realized. While they were never openly hostile toward each other, it was clear that JoJo's rise in popularity created an unspoken tension. Maddie's quiet, poised demeanor was in stark contrast to JoJo's boisterous energy, and the two dancers had very different styles. Where Maddie thrived in contemporary and lyrical, JoJo excelled in high-energy commercial dance. Their competition didn't only revolve around Abby's favoritism, but also the way they approached dance. Kalani Hilliker, on the other hand, was someone who understood what it meant to be overlooked in favor of someone new. Kalani had spent years trying to prove herself to Abby, and while she had a great relationship with JoJo, there was no denying that the addition of a new loud dancer might affect her own place in the spotlight. Kalani's journey on Dance Moms was one of perseverance, and she had always fought to be recognized for her unique talent. JoJo's flashy persona could easily overshadow the quieter, more controlled presence Kalani brought to the team. But even though there was competition, JoJo quickly made friends with the other dancers, particularly Kendall. Kendall was another dancer who had often been in Maddie's shadow and felt like she never got enough attention from Abby. JoJo's fun-loving nature helped bring Kendall out of her shell, and the two became fast friends. However, that didn't mean that the tension between JoJo and the rest of the girls disappeared completely. JoJo versus Abby, the battle for the spotlight. One of the biggest dynamics to emerge from JoJo's time on Dance Moms was her evolving relationship with Abby Lee Miller. Abby, known for her tough love approach, had long since favored certain dancers over others. Maddie, Kalani, and even Nia Sue had all spent years working hard to win Abby's approval, but JoJo's rise in popularity seemed to disrupt that hierarchy. Abby's treatment of JoJo was unpredictable. Sometimes, Abby seemed to embrace JoJo's vibrant personality and style, pushing her to take on more challenging routines and performances. Other times, Abby appeared frustrated with JoJo's boldness, especially when she didn't fit into Abby's vision of a perfect dancer. JoJo's wild energy didn't always align with Abby's more controlled, technical choreography, and there were many moments where JoJo's refusal to back down led to tension between them. But despite these tensions, JoJo was determined to make a name for herself. She never shied away from standing up for herself, and her fearlessness in the face of Abby's criticism made her stand out even more. In many ways, JoJo's fearlessness was what made her a fan favorite. She wasn't afraid to be herself, even if it meant going against the grain of what Abby or the other moms expected. JoJo's impact on the Dance Moms legacy. JoJo Siwa's legacy within Dance Moms is undeniable. Although she was only on the show for a few seasons, her presence was one of the most significant during the later years of the series. While she was initially a controversial addition to the team, she quickly became one of the most beloved stars, both by the fans and, eventually, by the cast itself. Over the years, JoJo's career has skyrocketed. Her YouTube channel, music career, and brand, featuring her iconic bows and merchandise, have made her one of the most successful former Dance Mom stars. She's become an icon in the world of social media and young entertainment, continuing to inspire her fans with her messages of positivity and self-confidence. But her time on Dance Moms was a pivotal moment in the show's history. She represented a shift in the dynamics of the ALDC, where talent and drama intersected in new ways. JoJo's bold entrance created a new set of challenges for the other dancers and the moms, but in many ways, it also revitalized the show, giving it a fresh burst of energy and unpredictability. Conclusion: love her or hate her, JoJo Siwa stood out. JoJo Siwa's entrance into Dance Moms may have been filled with drama, but it was also an important chapter in the show's legacy. While her presence was initially met with some skepticism and tension, it was clear that JoJo's bigger-than-life personality was a perfect fit for the Dance Moms universe. As she grew in popularity, JoJo's dynamic with the other dancers and moms evolved, making her one of the most unforgettable stars to ever grace the show. Her impact went far beyond the Dance Moms set. JoJo Siwa was about to become a global sensation. Through all the drama, competition, and chaos, JoJo never lost sight of what made her special: her authenticity, her refusal to conform, and her endless energy. And while the other moms and dancers might have had their opinions, there's no denying that JoJo Siwa left an indelible mark on the show and on pop culture itself. Kendall Vert's music career and Abby's betrayal, a Dance Moms star left behind? Kendall Verts may have been introduced to Dance Moms as a relative newcomer, but by the time the cameras started rolling in Season 4, it was clear she had the kind of star power that could transcend the world of dance. With her striking looks, undeniable talent, and relatable personality, Kendall quickly became a favorite among fans. But what many didn't see was the internal struggle that Kendall faced as she tried to branch out beyond dance and pursue her true passion, music. Kendall's music career was one of the most fascinating yet underexplored storylines in Dance Moms. She had the potential to make it big, but as we all know, her journey was anything but smooth. Abby Lee Miller, the notoriously tough and often unpredictable dance coach, seemed to always stand in the way of Kendall's dreams. Instead of pushing her protege to the top, Abby's cold indifference, often in favor of other dancers like Maddie and Kalani Hilliker, led to massive tension between them. But how much did Abby really contribute, or more accurately, fail to contribute, to Kendall's career? Was Kendall really given the push she needed to succeed in music, or was she left to fend for herself in a world where she deserved so much more? The rise of Kendall Verts, a star in the making. When Kendall first appeared on Dance Moms, she was already a talented dancer with a good sense of style, but it was clear from the start that her heart wasn't just in dance. Kendall always had a soft spot for music, and it didn't take long for her to express her desire to become a pop star. With her model-like looks and a personality that was easy to love, Kendall seemed like the perfect candidate to break out beyond the dance world and venture into a music career. In 2014, Kendall made her first foray into the music scene with her debut single, Wear 'Em Out. The song, which quickly gained popularity, showcased her dance pop sound and infectious personality. It had all the makings of a chart-topping hit, and Kendall's fans were excited to see her start this new chapter of her career. The song was catchy, energetic, and radiated that teen pop energy that dominated the charts. It seemed like Kendall was on the verge of something big. But there was just one problem: Abby Lee Miller. Abby Lee Miller's betrayal, a manager who didn't care. While Abby had made Kendall her favorite during her time on Dance Moms, this favoritism didn't extend to Kendall's music career. In fact, it was clear that Abby was more invested in her established dancers, especially Maddie Ziegler, than in supporting Kendall's music dreams. As Kendall began to see success with Wear 'Em Out, the tension with Abby grew. Abby, the dance coach who thrived on controlling every aspect of her dancers' lives, was not the kind of mentor who nurtured her students' talents outside of dance. Despite Kendall's obvious potential as a music artist, Abby didn't offer the guidance or encouragement Kendall desperately needed to push her music career forward. Instead, Abby often treated Kendall as though she were nothing more than a dancer who happened to dabble in music, never fully committing to her as a true artist. Abby's coldness toward Kendall's music aspirations became more obvious with each passing episode. Kendall, eager to prove herself, often tried to push the conversation toward her music career, but Abby's disinterest was palpable. There was a stark contrast in how Abby supported Maddie's burgeoning career, especially when Maddie went on to star in music videos, movie roles, and high-profile projects, and how she treated Kendall, who was left to navigate the music industry largely on her own. It seemed as though Abby's favoritism toward Maddie and Kalani meant that Kendall was sidelined when it came to her music ambitions. This wasn't just a matter of the typical Dance Moms drama. It was a betrayal of the trust and loyalty Kendall had placed in Abby, someone who was supposed to guide her to success. The growing tension, Kendall versus Abby. As Kendall's music career began to rise, the tension between her and Abby intensified. Kendall, frustrated by the lack of support, found herself at a crossroads. She had worked so hard to get to this point, only to be met with a lack of direction from the one person who was supposed to have her back, Abby Lee Miller. On the show, we saw the subtle cracks in their relationship. Kendall's attempts to get Abby's approval for her music career were often met with cold indifference or outright criticism. Abby's refusal to allow Kendall to pursue her dreams outside of dance created an emotionally charged atmosphere, and it was clear that Kendall was growing increasingly frustrated. As much as she loved dance, it was her music that truly spoke to her, and yet she couldn't get the push she deserved from the woman who had the power to make her dreams come true. Kendall's frustration bubbled to the surface in several heated moments on the show. Abby would often remind Kendall that her primary focus should be on dancing and competing with the ALDC, making it clear that Kendall's music career was secondary, at best. Meanwhile, Abby continued to funnel all her resources into Maddie, Kalani, and others, leaving Kendall in the shadows. While some of the other girls tried to support Kendall and her musical pursuits, the rift between Kendall and Abby was impossible to ignore. In particular, Maddie, who had already started to make her own moves in the entertainment world, was getting all the attention from Abby. As a result, Kendall began to feel like her time was running out. The window of opportunity for her to break into music was narrowing, and she had no one, especially not Abby, helping her seize it. Kendall's breakthrough, moving on without Abby. Eventually, Kendall realized that if she wanted to succeed in the music world, she would have to do it without Abby's help. The show didn't fully capture how much Kendall had to hustle on her own to break into the music industry, but off-camera, she was making serious moves. Kendall began working with different producers, choreographers, and professionals outside of Abby's sphere, and she quickly built her own team. In 2017, Kendall released her second single, Don't It, which was another fun, upbeat track that showcased her vocal talent. Unlike her first single, this release was more polished, and it received more attention from both fans and critics. Kendall's perseverance paid off, and she began to carve her own path in the music industry, without Abby's interference. However, despite the success of her music career, the shadow of Dance Moms and Abby's betrayal still lingered. Abby's refusal to support Kendall's music career had caused irreparable damage to their relationship, and Kendall's decision to move forward without Abby was a bold step in reclaiming control over her future. The fallout. Did Kendall get the push she deserved? Looking back at Kendall's time on Dance Moms, it's clear that she never truly received the support she deserved. Despite her undeniable talent and potential, Abby's favoritism and lack of belief in Kendall's musical abilities held her back. Kendall was more than just a dancer. She was a multi-talented artist with a bright future ahead of her, but Abby's refusal to help her achieve that future was one of the biggest betrayals in the Dance Moms saga. Kendall's journey is one of resilience. She didn't let Abby's cold shoulder stop her from pursuing her dreams, but it's hard not to wonder how much further she could have gone if Abby had recognized her potential. Kendall was left to carve her own path, without the mentorship and encouragement she deserved. And in many ways, this abandonment only made Kendall more determined to prove herself, not just to Abby, but to the world. In the years since Dance Moms wrapped up, Kendall's music career has continued to grow, though she's mostly stepped back from the public spotlight in recent years. She's found success on her own terms, building a career that's entirely separate from the toxic dance world that once held her back. Conclusion: the betrayal that led to Kendall's success. Kendall Verts may not have received the full support she deserved from Abby Lee Miller, but her resilience and determination to succeed in the music industry have made her a star in her own right. Abby's betrayal, in the form of neglect and favoritism, led Kendall to take matters into her own hands and build her career outside the ALDC. In the end, it's clear that Kendall's success was earned through her own hard work and perseverance, not through Abby's backing. While Abby may have tried to control every aspect of the Dance Moms girls' lives, Kendall proved that she was more than just a dancer. She was an artist who could rise above the drama and carve her own path to stardom. The ALDC versus the Candy Apples, a battle for supremacy. No Dance Moms season was ever complete without the fierce rivalry between the ALDC, Abby Lee Dance Company, and the notorious Candy Apples. From the very beginning, Kathy Nesbitt Stein, the fiery mother and coach of the Candy Apples, was determined to challenge Abby Lee Miller and her dominant squad of dancers. As the seasons went on, their rivalry intensified, and by season 5, it reached its boiling point. Was it the ALDC's sheer talent and Abby's tough love approach that kept them on top? Or did Kathy and her team finally find a way to get the upper hand and claim victory over the ALDC? Let's break down the drama, competition, and high-stakes showdowns that define this epic rivalry and determine who really won the battle between the ALDC and the Candy Apples. The rise of Kathy Nesbitt Stein and the Candy Apples. Kathy Nesbitt Stein was no stranger to drama. As the head of the Candy Apples, a rival dance team based in Ohio, she built a reputation for being one of the most vocal and fiery moms and coaches in the Dance Moms universe. Kathy's competitive spirit was unmatched, and she was always more than willing to go head-to-head with Abby Lee Miller. From the very first time the Candy Apples appeared on the show, Kathy made it clear she was here to take down the ALDC. Kathy's philosophy was different from Abby's, but equally aggressive. While Abby used her tough love approach to push her dancers to greatness, Kathy focused on creating routines that would shock the judges and make her team stand out in an entirely different way. She was no stranger to controversy, and she was more than willing to do whatever it took to get her team noticed, sometimes at the expense of traditional dance techniques. As the seasons wore on, Kathy's Candy Apples made a name for themselves, with dancers like Vivienne Kalani Hilliker, before she joined ALDC, and later, even Kendall Verts as a member of the team. But the Candy Apples' real claim to fame was their ongoing rivalry with Abby Lee Miller's team. Kathy had an unyielding obsession with beating Abby and stealing her spotlight, and her rivalry with the ALDC only intensified over time. Season 5, a battle like no other. When Season 5 of Dance Moms kicked off, the stakes were higher than ever. Abby had already established her dominance over the dance world, with her Golden Girls, Maddie Ziegler, Kalani, and Kendall Verts, taking center stage. But the Candy Apples were determined to make their mark, and they came for Abby and the ALDC with more fire than ever before. One of the most intense showdowns between the two teams happened at the infamous Dance Moms competition in the War at the Top. As always, Kathy was quick to stir the pot, making no secret of her desire to take down Abby and her team. The ALDC girls knew that they had to bring their best performances to the table if they were going to protect their title as the most dominant dance squad in the country. The competition was fierce. Both teams pulled out all the stops to show the judges why they were the best. But the real drama didn't just lie in the routines. It was in the trash-talking, the catty remarks, and the constant tension that filled the air. Abby and Kathy were at war, and their rivalry was felt by everyone involved. The key showdowns. Who came out on top? *1. ALDC versus Candy Apples, the Triangle Dance Battle. One of the most iconic moments of Season 5 was the Triangle Dance Battle, where both the ALDC and the Candy Apples went head-to-head in a competition that was anything but subtle. Kathy's team, featuring Vivienne and other dancers, went up against Maddie and the other ALDC girls in a highly competitive, high-energy performance. Abby was confident in her girls, especially Maddie, who was already a star in her own right. But Kathy, ever the instigator, wasn't going to make it easy for Abby. She used her usual tactics of creating drama, casting doubt on Abby's choreography, questioning her ability to lead, and stirring up all kinds of tension backstage. The Triangle Dance Battle became more about personal pride and animosity than about the actual choreography. In the end, the LDC walked away victorious. Maddie's stunning solo outshone Kathy's ensemble performance, and Abby was able to gloat, once again proving that her girls were still on top. But Kathy wasn't about to give up so easily. After the competition, she made several pointed remarks about Abby's coaching style and how she believed the ALDC had only won because of Abby's unfair favoritism towards certain dancers. Kathy couldn't let a win slip by without some sort of retaliation. 2. The Abby versus Kathy feud. Does Kathy finally get her revenge? Throughout Season 5, Kathy's relationship with Abby reached an all-time low. The rivalry between them had become personal, with both women constantly trying to one-up each other in front of the cameras. While Abby was known for playing favorites, Kathy was determined to show that she could still beat Abby's team, even without the same level of resources or support. One of the most intense moments came during the competition, The War at the Top, where Kathy had brought in a new, fierce dancer to shake things up. Her choreography was bold, and her attitude was even bolder. It seemed like Kathy was finally going to get the revenge she had been craving. But, as usual, Abby and the ALDC managed to pull out a win at the last minute. Despite the ALDC's win, it became clear that the rivalry was far from over. While Kathy didn't exactly get the revenge she was looking for in this particular season, she continued to undermine Abby's methods, calling her out for favoritism and questioning her ability to bring out the best in her dancers. The battle between these two iconic coaches was ongoing, and there was no end in sight. 3. Maddie Ziegler versus Vivienne, the battle for the spotlight. While Abby's girls and Kathy's dancers were fighting it out in the background, one of the most fascinating subplots of the rivalry was the competition between Maddie Ziegler and Vivienne. Maddie, already a rising star in the dance world, was constantly compared to Vivienne, Kathy's daughter. Vivienne was often portrayed as the underdog, the dancer who was fighting to live up to the legacy of Abby's star pupils. Vivienne wasn't quite on Maddie's level, but she was a fierce competitor in her own right. Kathy had high hopes for her daughter, and she worked tirelessly to prepare Vivienne for every competition. But no matter how hard Kathy pushed, Vivienne was still no match for Maddie's sheer talent. This created a lot of tension during Season 5, as the ALDC girls continued to dominate. Kathy's attempts to match Maddie's success were futile, but that didn't stop her from throwing shade and claiming that her team had the potential to surpass the ALDC. She believed that if she could just find the right choreography, the right routine, and the right energy, she could finally beat Abby at her own game. Kathy's revenge. A long time coming? While Kathy never truly managed to get the revenge she sought on Abby, she wasn't completely defeated. The drama and intensity of the ALDC versus Candy Apples rivalry played out season after season, with each team getting its fair share of victories and losses. But Abby's tendency to favor certain dancers, like Maddie, over others only deepened the divide. Season 5 ultimately ended with the ALDC still on top, but the Candy Apples proved that they were more than capable of causing chaos and making things interesting. Kathy may not have gotten the ultimate revenge she wanted, but her willingness to challenge Abby's authority time and time again cemented her place in Dance Mom's history as one of the most entertaining and dramatic forces to ever face off against the ALDC. Conclusion: the rivalry that never ended. The rivalry between the ALDC and the Candy Apples was one of the most iconic and long-lasting feuds in Dance Mom's history. While the ALDC usually came out on top in the competition, Kathy Nesbitt-Stein's Candy Apples gave them a run for their money. From the constant tension between Abby and Kathy to the fierce battles between their teams, the drama kept fans on the edge of their seats. Did Kathy get her revenge? Maybe not in the traditional sense. But she made her mark as a worthy opponent and proved that she was always willing to fight for her dancers, no matter how fierce the competition. The ALDC may have held the title of Best Dance Team, but the Candy Apples were never too far behind, ready to take on Abby and her squad at any moment.